All right, hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we're going to do something a little different. Normally I have a guest and we talk about one aspect of medical sales, whether it's pharmaceutical or medical device, non-invasive or invasive, medical supplies, healthcare tech, dental, diagnostic, you name it. But today we're going to do something a little different. And we're going to have a series of these episodes where I'm going to have more discussions around things I now understand people absolutely have to hear. I do have solo episodes. I love to interview. It's one of the things I just love to do. I love to get into the mind of people that are doing amazing things and share with you all what's really going on in these spaces. But you guys also know that I have a company called Law for Success. And I'm founder of this company. We've been around for six plus years now. Every year, hundreds of people come into our program, hundreds graduate, and year after year after year, we all get more of an insight into what people think medical sales is, why people do it, and what they hope to get out of it, And let me just speak frankly, right? Medical sales, it attracts all kinds of people. I personally believe it's an amazing career. But again, it's a career. I'm one of the people that I don't look at medical sales as a job. Every job is a job. But for me, medical sales is not just a job. I truly believe it is a career. It attracts all kinds of people. You have nurses and physical therapists who are they've spent years, some of them years in bedside helping patients. And they're just tired of it. They're like, look, I've been doing this for years. I'm not making the money I want to make. I appreciate what I do. I'm helping people, but I want more. I want more money. I want more impact. I thought this would give me more, and I'm ready to do something different. Or I'm just ready to do something different. Then you have your young people, graduates who, in 26, you can be a sophomore in college and learn all about medical sales and know exactly what you want to get into by the time you're a senior. But even then, they've been on some ride-alongs, maybe an internship, but they only know so much. They don't understand the true career trajectory of it all. It's sexy because they're going to make some money. They're going to be dealing with doctors, and that's kind of, we'll see what happens next. Then you have your career changers, right? You're approaching 40 or you're approaching 50. Heck, you're approaching 60 and you're like, look, I've been doing this for 20 years. I want to do something else. Maybe medical sales is the answer. And you're looking at medical sales. I'm going to make some good money and maybe get some benefits that I haven't really been able to have before and talk to doctors and work with nurses and staff at the same time. How cool can that be? And all these people come to medical sales. But as I just said, I don't think medical sales is a job. And I think what's missing, hundreds and hundreds of people later, years later, I think what's missing is people don't understand that for me, medical sales is a career, and it can be an amazing career if you start correctly. Think about what medical sales is. Medical sales is the gap that in my opinion, is lifeblood of just a human existence. You have doctors and you have patients, right? You just go back to the beginning of mankind and our lifespan. And look at our lifespan today. And for the grand scheme of things, it's been increasing. And that's because of medical technology. And a doctor and a patient can only go so far, right? This doctor takes all this time to learn all these things about the body. This patient experiences the spectrum of illnesses that can exist for a human being. And the doctor puts their wits and ends together to do what they can for this patient. But that can only go so far. I mean, at some point, you need something else to step in and do much, much more. And that's where medical sales comes into play. From the drugs to the devices, to the tests, the devices / drugs, these have closed the gap so that the relationship between a doctor and a patient is just defying things we didn't even know we could do 50 years ago. I mean, quadriplegics, 18-year-old man that got into a car accident that can't move a muscle is running miles now because of medical innovation. Someone that had late-stage cancer is in full-blown remission because of medical innovation. A baby that had no chance of survival because of a certain disease is now 25 years old and having babies themselves because of medical innovation. So for me, medical sales is beautiful and critically important and needs to be treated with the utmost importance. And if people are taking their time to do it, they need to take it seriously. So let's talk about work. Work, let's be honest. If you're a working person in this world, it takes up most of your time, right? I mean, every day you're supposed to technically give at least 8 hours. Many of you listening to this right now, I give more than 8 hours. Every single day for until you're 70 or 80 years old, and some until you're dead, as soon as you're as young as 16 years old, and you're doing this, or 20, you're an adult, you're doing from 20 to 8, that's 60 years, 8 hours a day. There's nothing else you're going to do in life that takes up more of your time. So if you're choosing medical sales to be the thing that takes up all of your time, why wouldn't you take it incredibly seriously? And this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the truth about choosing medical sales. So let's get into it. So medical sales for me is significant because there's so much money in this space, right? These pharmaceutical companies, these medical device companies, it's ridiculous the amount of money they have. And yeah, we can talk about tech and be like, well, what about the Googles? And what about, the Apples? Of course, they got money too. But for the thousands of companies that are in medicine that contribute to the innovation of medicine, the money is endless. And what that allows is for someone like you that's listening right now to truly create the most amazing career you can give yourself. So let's take it to this. If you want to be in medical sales, you truly want this, like this is where you want to be, you thought about it, you've looked into it, you've been listening to these podcasts, you've listened to these episodes, you've talked to people from all these big companies, and you're like, I want this, then let this episode today be the one that helps you understand that if you want this, then let's do it intelligent and let's truly build a career. Medical sales, in my opinion, is not a job. It is a career. So what does that mean and why is that so important? The reason why I want you to treat it like a career is because if you're young enough to get in, if you're lucky enough to get into it young enough, you can be whatever you want. You know, I was blessed to find medical sales when I was in my mid-20s, right? And even then, I didn't know what I was doing. I learned along the way. But now in 2026, if you're lucky enough to get into medical sales in your mid-20s, if you want to be CEO of a biotech company one day or CEO of a small med tech company one day, it's yours. You just got to set it up. If you're in your early 30s and you want to be on the board of a pharmaceutical company or a medical device company, it's yours. You just got to set it up. And if you want to be in your 40s and you want to have millions in the bank 20 years later, 15 years later from working at one of these med tech companies and have this history of making all this impact on all these patients throughout your time and developing these amazing relationships, it is 100% yours. But in order for you to have that kind of life, that sexy life that you hear about, that's only some folks are fortunate enough to have, you have to start properly. You have to start by treating this like the actual career it is. So if we're going to treat this like a career, then when we're thinking about getting into medical sales, where should we put our attention? Number one, we got to be real in what do we actually want to be doing, okay? Most starts in medical sales is, you're an associate or you're a sales rep of some sort. Associate, all the way I mean by associate is you're a junior sales. You're working for a sales rep or you're a sales rep, you're an actual sales rep, one or the other. That's most. And then we do have this other caveat that's more for clinicians, that's that clinical specialist piece where you're more of like a consultative advisor. You're not solely responsible for selling, but you're driving the utilization of the products that are being sold so that this provider can use it maximally for that company. And those are your three spaces to start, typically in medical sales. So if you want to be in medical sales and you listen to this right now, you need to take the time, spend the money or the energy to understand where your skill set lies. So what I hear when I talk to these people that we work with every single year, oh, Samuel, they told me I had no experience. Of course you don't. No, I still can't believe companies or hiring managers or recruiters tell people, well, you have no experience. So they might as well just say, we don't want you because we want someone that has experience doing this. We don't want someone that's green. So, try somewhere else. That's way more of an honest answer than you don't have experience. And then another thing I hear is, well, you got to have sales experience. And you don't. I don't care what anyone tells me. Hundreds of people every year, so many, you can't tell me any differently. Look at our testimonials alone and it proves that that's not true. But the reason why people with sales experience often have an easier time, especially when they have absolutely no guidance, is because sales proves one thing, that you can handle grit, right? So let's talk about it. Number one, you got to have grit if you want to be in medical sales. I think that if you're someone that does not like grit, you don't like, and grit and grind, I think are two different things. Some jobs will be a grind. Some careers will be a grind, but this career requires grit. Grit doesn't mean that every day is going to be a grind. Grit means that if for some reason it becomes a grind, it ain't nothing to it. You can handle it like the best. For those people that are thinking about medical sales, if you know that grit is not in you, you just know it. And I'm going to say it. Some of you know it. This is not the space for you. Don't look for a school to help you. Don't come to our program to help you. Don't just leave it alone, because once you're in medical sales, getting in is half out, right? We have a program that helps you get in and we work with all these people. We have these coaches and trainers and it's so awesome and it's so great. And then we get these people in and that's half. That's the easy part. Then you still have to deliver daily. And in sales, often you're going to have a quota. So you got to meet that quota, and it's a company. So they love you. They want to love you. They want to be your friend, but they're not your friends. You're colleagues. You're running a business. That's what they say. I'm sorry, man. I know it sucks, but it's business. They say that. Those phrases exist because at the end of the day, this outcome needs to be met. And if you can't help me meet this outcome, I need to find someone who can, regardless how much I love you. So that grit absolutely has to be there. And if you want to be in this space, then you gotta have that grit. That's number one. Number two, I think for someone to truly get the most out of medical sales, a career, be intentional. Don't be the random guy. If you're the random person or girl or guy that got into this, now be intentional. Because the difference between not being intentional and intentional is having worked for 25 different companies and never making more than $200,000 a year, and having worked for the same amount of time and having millions in the bank, having amazing relationships with the people at the highest of corporate ladders, and knowing that you can pretty much jump into any company you want, just, if you choose to. That's a beautiful place in life to be in. And that's what's so cool about medical sales. If you set it up right, right, that can be you. Every one of you listening to this right now, if you're young enough and you set it up right, that can be you. And again, when I say young enough, I'm not talking 20, I'm talking 30s, heck, early 40s if you're sharp. So you got to have that grit and you got to be intentional. Those are number one and number two. Number three, and I know, we're a business, we're a company, I'm a coach, I have coaches that work for me, I have trainers, and I have, whole business, whole company, but you got to have some guidance. Look, mentorship is real. Heck, me as a business owner, I need mentors. I regret not having more mentors when I first started. I have some now, but how amazing would it be if I found the right mentor early on? The mistakes it saves you is ridiculous. And you know this, right? If you're a reader, any readers out there that listen to this, you know this. Reading gives you that edge because you get to learn from the people before you. And the mistakes they made, you can completely avoid. You don't even have to think about it. And it will slow you up. What you don't know will slow you up. So you got to have the grit. You got to be intentional, and you got to seek guidance. And when I say guidance, find someone that you can ultimately trust. Yes, it's good to have many different people in many different pockets, but you need someone that's going to give it to you straight, that's going to give it to you unfiltered, that's going to tell you how it is. It's going to say, look, you are way too cocky, calm it down. Or look, that is not good enough. If anybody sees that, they're going to shut you down the moment you set it on their table. Or I love your passion, and I think you're coming from a good place, but like everyone is saying that, and we need something that I need to pull what's really going on out of you, because any senior leader that you say that to is going to call you on it. You got to have that person in your corner, or that team in your corner, or that entity in your corner. The mentorship has to be there. So what do we just identify? You notice I'm not talking about you got to have smarts, and you got to be clinical, and you got to be. I'm not even talking about this. I'm talking about these other foundational skills that are, in my opinion, way more grit. It's hard to teach it. I've tried. We have an amazing program with the Medical Sales Career Builder, and we even have tests and things that people go through to test the level of it. But I think what I've learned 6 years later is it's hard to teach grit, and it's so much better when you're working with people that naturally have it. Being intentional. On intentionality, you can kind of teach, but the person still has to want to be intentional, right? One of the keys to someone that is intentional is someone that pays attention to detail. That's someone that's pretty intentional, right? It's hard to not be intentional and not pay attention to detail. When you're paying attention to details, because you're trying to develop an intention around what you're doing, so you're trying to be intentional, and that can be improved. But it's awesome when someone has that. And then, like I said, that mentorship is real. If you don't have guidance right now, go get some. Right? This podcast is a form of guidance. For those of you that are subscribed, listen to this every single episode. Great. Take it a step further. Join a program. But if you don't have guidance, get some. So I don't want to ramble on today's episode. I just wanted to highlight these 3 themes that I think are critical. And now, let me talk just a little bit about why I think they're so critical. Let's not even talk about getting in. Let's talk about the people that are in. There's a phrase in medical sales that exists called the golden handcuffs. What do you think that means? Golden handcuffs. So what that means is you work for an organization that pays you well. You get good money, maybe even a company car, benefits through the yin yang, but the job itself is not what you thought it was going to be. Maybe the drug you sell or the device you sell. Maybe it's the just over and over and over the staff that doesn't want you there, or the surgeon that just gives you attitude all the time. And you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But you can't leave because the money's too good and the benefits are too great, and your entire lifestyle or family or whatever you got going on is built on this. So they call them the golden handcuffs. This is why I talk about the grit. So I personally don't believe in golden handcuffs. I think it's a fallacy, because if you're a performer, then you are not going to find yourself in a golden handcuff situation. If you're a true performer, now as people are listening to this right now and they're thinking, well, what the Samuel, are you? I can hear you guys talking right now, but just hear me out. If you're a true performer, you are not going to claim golden handcuffs, because if you don't like the company you're working for, and you don't like the drug or device you're selling, or you don't like the leadership, or you don't like the pay structure, or you don't like the sales, whatever you got going on, or you don't like your manager, or you don't like your second line leader, or you don't like your CEO, whatever the situation is, if you are a performer, you can find another company. There are thousands of companies out there, thousands of companies out there in just the United States that you can go and work for, that if you are a performer, will be glad to have you, will go out of their way to pay to have you. But if you don't have grit, you won't even see it. You won't even notice it. And you'll subscribe to getting less than for yourself and claim things like, well, you know what it is. It's just the golden handcuffs. So number one, you gotta have grit. This is why it's so important to have grit. It's gonna save you so much pain in the actual industry. Another reason why grit is critical is your boss. It's real, guys. Your boss determines your success in any company, especially in a medical sales career. If your boss is you just don't get along, figure it out. learn to get along, understand what makes them tick, get on that level. And if you can't, then you need to find a way to get into a place where you can. Because if your boss does not like you or appreciate what you bring to the table, just forget it. Forget about getting anywhere, and watch yourself saying golden handcuffs in the next 5 or 10 years. For those of you that are medical scientists right now, watch. Another reason why grit is critical is because grit is going to make sure you're never working for less than what you believe you deserve. It breaks my heart when I see, especially really accomplished people. I know guys that were engineers, they were nurses, engineers, a master's degree, and they can't get over a certain income threshold that is lower on the lower end of medical sales because they won't push themselves out of the comfort zone of where they are. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. And I'm not knocking anyone. I respect everybody's reasons for doing what they're doing, but grit is going to help you see past that and say, I am not earning my keep. I am going to go do that, period, and go get it. So that's grit. Now, what about intentionality? Intentionality is serious. If you're in a company right now, you should know who your senior leader is. If you're joining a company and you're in the interview process and you're pretty confident you're going to get this job, as soon as you get this job, you need to figure out who your senior leaders are. And if you're in the interview process and you don't have the job, then guess what? Learn people closest to the people interviewing you who the senior leader. I think that being intentional means you're going out of your way to develop mentors, sponsors, basically a network of advocates in the organization you work for that will be there to sing your praises every step you take. If you're messing up, they're the first ones to call you out. If you're doing things right, they're the first ones to celebrate you. And let me tell you guys right now, when you're intentional, truly intentional with your careers, and you have this network of advisors that are supporting you, it's amazing. It's night and day of an experience in the medical sales. You gotta be intentional. Gotta be intentional about the company. Find out what the company's doing. What's their layoff structure looking like? How much money are they actually earning? If they're a public company, what's been going on with that stock? What is the pipeline? What are they really trying to do? If they're a private company, what can you find out about the culture? And what can you find out about the leadership and how they make decisions? These are things that in 2026, we have no excuse. I mean, with Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and OpenAI and just all these different platforms, and Google is still there and they got the AI too. You have so much access to so much information. There's no excuse not to know what's going on with an organization to the best of your ability. And that's what I mean by being intentional. The space itself, if you're in any medical sales space, know what's going on in your space. Know who your competitors are. Know what the latest development is. Know what your surgeons or physicians or nurses or nurse practitioners or physician assistants, what are they paying attention to? Who are they listening to? What is guiding their decisions? Don't slack on this stuff. Take the time to sit down and say, what the heck is going on? And it's so cool because there's never been a time in society where we can get the information so readily available. So you really got to be intentional. If you're intentional, you'll never be singing the golden handcuffs. If you're intentional and you want to be the CEO one day, you will. If you're intentional and you want to have millions in the bank as a sales rep, you will. If you're intentional and you want to be a manager or a second line leader or whatever it is you want to be, you can do it. Especially if you start early. Forget early. You start right now. Be intentional right now. And then the last theme that I'm going to go on, and then we'll wrap it up, is like I said before, please, mentorship is no joke. I think what's cool in this day and age is you can buy mentorship, right? Programs, outside mentors, coaches. It's cool. Every one of you needs a mentor. If you're in a sales company right now, a medical sales company right now, and you do not have a mentor, I want you to make that first order of business. Whether it be someone in your company, whether it be a coach you love and follow, whether it be, heck, the medical sales podcast or what we do, doesn't matter. Get yourself a mentor. You need to understand what you can't see. And that's what I think the crux of mentorship is. Mentors provide what you can't see. Programs, the medical sales podcast provides our goal is to provide you with all this knowledge about what's going on because you guys cannot see it, period, right? If you get into our program, you're trying in the industry, we're giving you what you cannot see. If you're in the industry and you're trying to level up, we're giving you what you cannot see. Mentorship is real and it gives you what you cannot see. Another reason why mentorship is so important is because medical sales is corporate, meaning, I'm sure you guys heard of career limiting moves. There's a book actually called Career Limiting Moves. It's an okay book, but it's a real phenomenon. There are mistakes you can make that are so detrimental. They literally stop you in your tracks as far as career progress. Now, my company's name is Evolve Your Success, so I personally don't believe in anything that can stop you, but why make the road harder for yourself? If you can make the moves that advance you faster versus making the moves that slow you down and make it like you're trudging through quicksand, mentorship is what helps you prevent that, right? Mentorship is the bridge to avoid all those potholes that many people fall into. And also, mentorship will also help you with your dollar. Just because medical medical sales make a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to make a lot of money if you just get into this. You have to have that grit, be intentional, and have mentors that can guide you so you can earn what you should be earning. But if you don't have any kind of mentorship going on, you're just going to discover that you're behind. And sometimes it's way later in your career. And you're like, wait a minute, what? How did I not know that? So this is something that's been on my mind that I had to share. As always, I love sharing information with my audience. You guys are amazing. You guys are why I do this. Don't stop listening. We're going to bring you more episodes like this that get into the heart of a medical sales career, because our mission is to level up healthcare. And the way we contribute to doing that is making sure the best people are getting into this space and are fully equipped to do their best work. That by doing that, we know we're leveling up. And this podcast is serving to arm you with things you don't know so that you now can live with grit, be intentional, and truly allow mentorship to guide you. As always, listen to the Medical Sales Podcast, and make sure you tune in for another episode next week.